Hi everyone. It's been a long time again, but hopefully I'm going to be able to upload a lot of videos pretty quickly right now because I have the house to myself for a few days. Also my hair is red now, and also wet and gross because I'm lazy. I mean, because just took a shower, but I'm not waiting for it to dry before making a video because I'm lazy. This is chapter 5 of Save the Pearls. Eden forced herself to concentrate on the staccato-like tapping of her high heels against the concrete floor in the busy, wide pedestrian tunnel. First of all, it's not staccato-like, it's just, you can just say staccato. That's a description. Okay. If she focused on her feet moving ahead, she wouldn't give in to the paralyzing fear that gripped her. What if one of her coworkers saw her and reported her illegal leave to Bramford? She couldn't think about the risk or she might lose her nerve and return home. Never mind, she simply had to reach the reasonable plaza where her dark prince waited. There's that term again. It's just so gross. Eden knew how to deflect attention. Shoulders back, eyes focused ahead, her face a blank mask, just like the other pearls who walked in groups near her in their designated lane. They kept to the edges, making way for the Coles who swept by on bicycles or in rickshaws. They have rickshaws, that's cool. I like rickshaws. It was almost 1900 hours, and the tunnel bustled with activity. The distant blare of military sirens and the chaotic cries of vendors hawking their goods from recessed stalls in the walls jumbled with traffic bells and snatches of conversation. She suspected that each and every coal passer-by wanted to hurt her, though the statistical odds against that were high. She just suspected it because she's an asshole. And her sensors, which automatically translated the babble of foreign languages into English, the official language, told her it wasn't true. Still, she could never shake the fear of being among so many of them. Oh my God. Only a few minutes had passed, and already she felt the sinking terror of being away from her unit, away from Austin. Out there, with all that space around her, anything might happen. Each step drained her. Perspiration formed on her brow, threatening to dull her coding, even though, according to her internal sensors, it was only 110 degrees Fahrenheit in the tunnel. Not bad for a spring night. God, Jesus Christ. That's kind of what I'm living right now. It's just hot here. She thought of all the times she'd made this very trek in the past, wearing her same old moon dance dress. I'm sorry, moon dance is a silly term to me for some reason. And yet, never alone, always with a group of her kind. She fingered the top of the strapless black techno dress, hoping Jamal would like it. The stiff fabric had frayed and lost its sheen long ago. It didn't matter, though, because tonight she wouldn't be the hopeless pearl clinging to the shadows in the hall. She would be somebody. Or be somebody's fool. I think you should look that up with Mr. T. It's hilarious. Encouraged, she tried to pick up her pace, though the tight dress hobbled her walk. Ahead, she spotted a boisterous crowd of partygoers at the public transport hub. She hung back, hoping no one would recognize her. In a short while, a high-speed, bullet-shaped vehicle shot down the tunnel and halted at the landing dock. An ethics officer stood by the security scanner, watching the passengers get on board. Eden waited until the long line thinned, then hurried to take her turn. The EO stepped in front of her, his face hostile. All of a sudden, she heard two men behind her. Coles, she figured by their careless, drunken laughter. "Hurry up, let us on," one of the men called in a high-pitched voice. "Oh, sorry. Hurry up, let us on!" "I've got protocol to keep," the EO said curtly. "So do we, Reds," a deep, cruel voice replied. Eden saw a flash of fear in the officer's face. He stepped aside, letting her push through the scanner. She didn't dare look back at the men who followed her on board. She edged her way down the aisle, past hundreds of people, mostly Coles of all ages, mated couples and eager singles. Luckily, she found a few inches of space to hold onto the overhead bar in the back section reserved for pearls. A loud whooshing sound reverberated against the metal sides of the vehicle as it zoomed down the tunnel. Dim yellow lights cast a grimy pall on the mass of dark passengers, all in dark clothing. The only spot of color in the shadowy interior came from hollow images of serene nature scenes that played against fake windows. Eden stared intently at them, avoiding anyone's eye. She felt a malevolent current coursing through the riders on the transport. not only from coal to pearl or from tiger's eye to amber, but within each racial group. The Unigov got it wrong. The monthly moon dance usually left a wake of mayhem throughout each zone. But she couldn't think about that now. I'm a stone in a cool, dark cave. The vehicle careened through dark tunnels, stopping occasionally to cross traffic or to let on more riders. She wondered if Ms. Polka Dot Bikini would have enjoyed the beach if she could have seen these desperate people, or what would become of good Earth. Let's get the capitalization in this book. Excuse me. I'm not redoing this video. I'm like, possibly man's only hope lay at Eden's very own doorstep. Bullshit. Better not. She recalled the thrill of piecing together the puzzle of her father's experiment. Each researcher had been given one small part of the process to prevent the very discovery she had made. Eden, being the best interpreter of her father's notes, had filled in once too often for ill coworkers, and the result was inevitable. Sure, she was the best. At first, she couldn't believe it. She'd finally cornered her father one morning when he had stumbled home, weak from overwork and lack of sleep. What, Dot? I figured it out. Do you know what this means? What? What do you know? Holy Earth, you're attempting an interspecies structural adaptation. Only your crazy father would think of implanting a human being with genetic material from key animals that thrived in the hottest climates. A lot of people have thought of that. Chow Tucker, for one. Only he might succeed, too. His secret approach to programming the epigenome? I'm not a science, I'm sorry. The genetic master control for DNA allowed him to skirt the pesky problem of one species rejecting another's code. This wasn't going to be some mild genetic exchange either. Valuable DNA had been gathered from nearly extinct species with tremendous effort and probably a lot of Bramford's unicredits. The primary genetic donor was the ultimate jungle predator, a jaguar. Even better, a melanistic cat with a black coat had been found. Its coloring would not only increase resistance to solar radiation, but also minimize the appearance of camouflage spots for vanity's sake. Jaguar spots would be cool. Shut up. The jaguar's only natural enemy, the green anaconda, contributed its cold-blooded resistance to heat. The third donor in this potent cocktail was the harpy eagle, the most powerful raptor in the world. It could spot a bug from 100 yards in the air, and its keen vision had been added to the mix. Land, water, and air, a brilliant killing machine. If her father's work succeeded, a pearl might be able to withstand solar radiation as well as, or even better than, a coal. Maybe then pearls would no longer be treated like garbage. And maybe, did Eden dare think it, even she might be beautiful. She had assumed her father would be proud of her deductive reasoning, even eager to share some of the subtleties of the procedure. Instead, his voice had tightened. The irritating blinking had begun. Dot, you haven't told anyone, have you? Who would I tell? I don't talk to anyone. It is categorically forbidden to speak a word of this. You must understand this work is highly illegal and politically dangerous. I understand, Father. If it weren't for Bramford's power, such a thing could never be attempted. Of course, Coles primarily would use the technology, and if one man controlled it, he would be unstoppable in his quest for domination. But Bramford will have it all. He'll be fair to us, Dot. He has given me his word. She didn't think that counted for much. Still, she was happy for her father. Already the advanced age of 39, he wouldn't have another crack at success. Good luck, Father. A rare smile had creased his tired face. It was the longest conversation they'd shared since her mother had died, and she'd missed him. It's the biggest leap in evolution since man discovered fire. Don't forget what I said, Dot. Eden never had intended to tell anyone, but then Jamal wasn't just anyone. It had seemed only natural to share her life with him. Besides, he liked smart women. But if she were honest, she'd have to admit she really wanted him to know that one day she might be more desirable. Oh my God. What an idiot. An hour later, the ride ended. Already, Eden heard the raucous sounds of revelers and loud music coming from the regional hall. She filed into line as the passengers began to shuffle off the transport. Her heart skipped a beat when she saw two FFP soldiers staring back at her. They wore drab, brown and black paramilitary gear, with berets over their shaved heads. The larger of the duo, a blue-black giant, smiled at her and licked his lips. I'm so sorry. His tall, skinny friend laughed. Eden quickly turned away in a panic. She had imagined it, she told herself. Besides, they would be gone soon. But when she turned up the aisle, they still stood on the side, watching her. Her heart slammed in her chest as she drew near. Just as she feared, Giant and his lanky friend stepped around her, forcing her to continue between them towards the exit. Look what we caught, or look what we caught, the skinny one said behind her. A real live pearl. Eden recognized the high-pitched, squeaky voice as belonging to one of the men who had followed her on board. Excuse me. Mother Earth, why had she come alone? An old childhood ditty echoed in her head. Her mother had refused to teach it to Eden, but she learned it all the same. Little Pearly Whirly, lost inside the mines, tossed from coal to coal, in fear she whines. I'm sorry, Mother, he said he only wanted to see my white skin shine. That's just, this book is unfucking believable. Frantic, Eden commanded her life band. Connect, Jamal. Why didn't he accept her signal? He promised he'd be there. Time for Jamal to make a righteous move. She peered around Giant, hoping for a sign of her dark prince, but Squeaky grabbed her. He pawed her dress, ripping it along the side. Leave me alone, Eden said shakily. Someone is waiting for me. Someone important. One of your people. You won't mind if we share a little pearl stew, Squeaky said. Ew. I should have warned for, sexual harassment. I'm sorry. As he pushed her out of the vehicle into the security line, Eden began to scream. Giant turned, smothering her in his arms. Be quiet, Pearly, he whispered in her ear. Or else, he jabbed a sharp point in her side. Sorry. The big soldier had a knife, and Eden had no doubt he'd use it to kill her. The end of chapter 5.